them. You denied media reports which stated that there were significant changes to MCAS low-speed extension that were not fully vetted by the FAA. You said they were fully vetted. But the Indonesian accident authorities found the FAA's response to the revised system safety assessment was simply to accept the submission. It seems to me there's a difference between accepting the submission, the FAA accepting the submission versus the FAA fully vetting the changes. So if that was the case, do you, and this gets to the kind of the heart of some of these certification questions on whether it's enough or too much has been given through the authority to Boeing or to any other manufacturer. Can you help me square that circle? What fully vetted by FAA means versus what simply accepting the submission means? Because it seems like there's no way to square that circle.
Congressman, let me try, and then John, if you want to, or do you have a comment you wanted to?
Yeah, Congressman, I think there's been some implications here about the ODA and what the role was. The system safety assessment, the certification deliverable, was retained by the FAA. It was not delegated to the ODA until to the very end after the FAA had reviewed it and provided comments back to the ODA and said, if these comments are incorporated in the system safety assessment, then the AR is delegated to find compliance. But the FAA had reviewed that document for several months.
And Congressman, if I could just add in, just to try to square this off with the comments you heard yesterday, what I was referring to is that during that time period from, it was mid-2016 to early 2017, the fact that we extended MCAS to the low-speed operation envelope, that was discussed with the FAA in many ways. We conducted multiple flight tests. Some of those included FAA pilots on board the aircraft, and that ultimately led to the certification of the airplane with the MCAS software, including the extension to low-speed operations. And that, we're talking about two ends of the same equation there.
So I appreciate that. I know you won't mind, though, that we're going to continue to go through the documents you've provided us and go through FAA documents as well to clear that up from our end of things.
And Congressman, I do think we've also identified some areas where we need to improve the documentation, in some cases recording of decisions and making sure those were communicated to all parties. And that's one of the areas of improvement that we've also identified and working that jointly with the FAA.
Well, and related to that, sort of the paper trail side of things, Mr. Hamilton on October 20th, statement from Boeing referenced that back to Mr. Faulkner's. His comments in these text message exchanges reflected a reaction to a simulator program that wasn't functioning properly, as opposed to how many of us read it, that being an MCAS not functioning, and then him making his comments that he did. However, if it's only, from my end of things, it doesn't matter if it was just a simulator problem or if it was deeper MCAS. There's no paper trail that I'm aware of yet that tells me anything was fixed, whether it was an MCAS problem that was fixed or if it was a simulator problem that was supposed to be fixed. If we're using those simulators that are supposed to be fixed in order to test the 737 MAX, I don't feel any better about that either. Okay. So is there a paper trail? To whom did Faulkner report this? Who is ultimately responsible for fixing the simulator, if that in fact what it was? And can we? And I hope that we can get those documents as well. I want to ask the FAA the same thing, not just how far up the ladder did he have to report, but across the FAA and letting them know about the simulator.
Congressman, again, we're not completely sure what he meant in that message.
Well, join the crowd.
Talked about, but it appears he was working on a simulator, and he's referencing the low-speed extension of MCAS. Right. We need to confirm that. We do know that he was working at that time in a simulator. At least our best understanding is that he was at that time working on what we call an unqualified simulator. So it was a newer simulator that was being brought up to standard. It was not yet at a position where it fully represented the airplane itself. And
would he have known that? Was he supposed to have known that? And why was he?
Yeah, he knew that he was operating. Again, our understanding here, we haven't talked directly to him. Our understanding is that he was in a simulator development process, and it appears from his comments that he was surprised about some feature. Having spent some time in simulators, it's not uncommon for us to have to work on the software to get it to be fully representative of the airplane over time. Now, regarding the paper trail on that simulator, I don't know if we have any details on that, but we can follow up.
We'll follow up. I'm over my time, and there's other members. We'll follow up with that. And so thank you. I got to say thanks.